When people hear the concept of family, they usually imagine something warm: home, childhood, protection, belonging. In most cases, family is accepted as something natural, as if it has always existed, as if it emerged together with humanity itself. But there is a question we rarely choose to ask. Was the idea of family natural, or did it emerge later? Because when we observe nature, family, as we understand it, is very rare. There are bonds, there are pairings, there are temporary unions, but a permanent closed orderly family structure. This is not as ancient as we tend to think. Let's go back. When the first humans existed, there was no family, at least not in the form we recognize today. People lived in groups. These groups were usually based not on kinship, but on survival. Who was strong, who could hunt, who could stand against threats. Bonds were flexible, people were temporary, because at that time the greatest enemy was loneliness. A human living alone could not survive. But there was a problem: the human infant. The human infant is one of the most vulnerable creatures in nature. It cannot walk. It cannot feed itself. It needs care for many years. Many animals can stand up the moment they are born. Humans, however, need years just to stand on their own. This was a weakness. But it also created a necessity. A single individual could not keep a child alive for long. Mother and father were not enough. A group was required. This is where the first bonds began to form. But these bonds did not emerge through love. There is no romance, no emotion. It was necessity. People had to stay in the same place. For the offspring, for hunting, for protection. And the human brain did something to make this necessity sustainable. It began to produce emotions: attachment, possession, jealousy, guilt, loyalty. These were not higher virtues. They were systems designed to prevent disintegration. If you don't stay together, you die. The brain knew this. But it couldn't keep reminding you every time, so instead it made you feel. Over time, these temporary unions became more permanent. Children grew up around the same adults. They recognized the same faces. They became accustomed to the same voices. And for the first time, a sense of we emerged. But still, there was no family. Only the instinct to stay together. The true emergence of what we call family belongs to another period: agriculture. When humans shifted to settled life, everything changed. There was land, there were crops, there were things that accumulated, and for the first time a new question appeared: who do these belong to? In the hunter-gatherer era, nothing truly belonged to you. Things were shared, consumed, finished. But agriculture brought accumulation. And accumulation gave birth to inheritance. Land had to belong to someone, and that land had to be passed on to someone. This is where family began to transform. The issue was no longer just survival. It was the protection of property. Lineage began to matter. Blood ties became important. Who someone's child was became a serious issue. The female body came under control, because the continuation of lineage passed through it. Marriage emerged. Rules were established. Boundaries were drawn. Family was no longer a biological necessity, but a social structure. And every society shaped this structure according to its own needs and desires. Children were raised within the family. Norms were transmitted. Obedience was taught. Roles were assigned. Family, before being a place of love, was an orderly system. This may sound unsettling, but history says this clearly. Through family, states governed societies. Through family, religion spread morality. Through family, societies replicated themselves. And people did not question it, because family was surrounded by emotion. Who questions their own family? Years passed. The world changed. The Industrial Revolution arrived. People began working in factories. Home and work separated. Extended families declined. The nuclear family became widespread. Mother, father, children. This model provided less solidarity but more control. For the state, for the economy. And then we arrived at the modern world. Today, survival no longer depends on family as much as it once did. There are states. There are social systems. There are millions of people living alone. Yet family is still at the center of our lives. Why? Because the brain did not change. The reflexes remained. The mechanisms are still functioning. We bond. We feel guilt. We struggle to leave. Family sometimes protects. Sometimes it harms. But in every case, it is powerful. Because family is not just a structure. It is a habit, an inner voice. And perhaps the most unsettling question emerges here. Does family exist to protect us, or to keep us within a set of rules? Because today, many people stand not because of their families, but despite them. Traumas occur within families. Roles are formed there. Expectations are arranged there. And yet leaving family is difficult, because this structure is not built only from the outside, but from the inside our brains. Perhaps family does not seem indispensable because it is natural, but because it is familiar. And the final question is this: if humans were to evolve again today, if everything were built from scratch, would family still exist in the same way?